The roads of Koh Phangan and Thailand are dangerous. Just take a look at my face today. How's it going, Tal?
Pretty good, pretty good. I'm here in Chiang Mai, Thailand,
Well,
in the north.
yeah, I'm here on the island of Koh Phangan, and I'm not having a great week, as you can see. I've got stitches here and stitches here, and I'm going to tell you why later in this video. The story you've got a similar story of when you fell earlier this year, and
Yeah.
so let's get into it. Let's talk about why the roads of Thailand and in general, and specifically Koh Phangan, are dangerous and stuff like that. So yeah, let's go. Basically, people come here for paradise, right? They come here for the palm trees, the always warm weather, beaches, everything like that. And they tend to relax, right? And they tend to like want to just like chill out and live whatever they view as this island paradise life. Well, sometimes paradise can turn to a nightmare very quickly, as happened to me this week.
Yeah.
So we're gonna make a video about this while it's still fresh in my mind, the accident. It's healing nicely, by the way, so but I'll tell you exactly what happened and how. So yeah, I mean, at the core of this issue, I think is like the fact that foreigners take risks without awareness of the risks they're taking and without proper training to mitigate the risks that they're taking. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I mean, all it takes is one day to look at the roads of Koh Phangan and you see the type of people that are on bikes, the way that they're maneuvering the bikes. A lot of them, it looks like they just got on the bike, a couple days ago. They really don't know what they're doing. And a lot of people, they come to Koh Phangan without expecting to rent a motorbike,
Yep.
quickly realize that without a motorbike, you can't really explore the island or like the transportation options are very, very limited and very expensive. So people are pushed into doing this very risky decision of, renting a motorbike, of trying it out. And these things are speedy. Like even 150cc, which doesn't sound like, very powerful, you can max it out at 100, 110 kilometers an hour. Um, so it can be fast
And you
and
can
it
have a
makes it
bad accident
insanely
at like
dangerous.
40 or something,
Yeah,
30,
yeah,
40. So, yeah. So it's a lack of
because
education at the core of this, like for foreigners crashing motorbikes and not knowing how to drive it and all that sort of stuff. Like a lack of sort
I
of
mean, yes and no.
preparedness. Yeah.
I think that is the biggest, the absolutely biggest and most visible dangerous thing, to see. However, most of the accidents that I hear about are actually not collisions, but people falling because of sand or because of, wet rain or because of
The road.
mostly,
Yeah.
yeah, the road. So even if people have, a couple years of experience, such as myself, for example, the roads are still dangerous,
Yeah.
even if you take away all of the foreigners.
And even if you decide to be a pedestrian or a cyclist here, it's less popular. There's less people doing that, so it's less safe as well with all the motorbikes and like all of that sort of stuff because people are less used to it. And yeah, even that's not safe because it's not a common way to do things here, right?
Yeah, I feel more safe on a motorbike than as a pedestrian in Koh Phangan
Yeah.
because there's no sidewalks, so you walk on the side of the road, and especially in the dark, you don't have the control. If somebody crashes into you, there's nothing you can do as a pedestrian. You could try to jump out of the way, but if they're going quite fast, that's not possible. While when I'm on a motorbike, I feel like I'm in control of my own safety. I feel more in control.
Yeah. And the thing about being in control and stuff like that, yeah, you are in control. And a lot of the time people are like, things are okay. Um, but things are okay until they're not okay, as I found out this week. And spoiler alert, my accident wasn't a motorbike accident. It was a bike accident. Bicycle. Anyways, yeah, so a lot of people will just like not wear a helmet and things can really be okay um until they're not okay. And there's something about the infrastructure here which is like it could be better. Like like the roads are often crumbling. The authorities are often very slow to sort of fix it, and you need to know how to navigate this. You need to know what little crack in the road you can drive over, which one you should avoid completely, and how would a novice know this without experience? So, like the best thing, like the best advice I would give a novice is like just go really slowly at first, and just like on your motorbike, and practice like doing turns, practice going off road a little bit, see how the bike handles differently off road. Just practice in a safe environment, and when in doubt, stick your feet out, because a lot of the time,
Yeah.
like when you fall off, like it's because you don't stick your feet out. If there's any instability in the bike that's going to make you tip over, usually a tap of your foot on the ground will be enough to stabilize that.
Yeah.
And of course, yeah, just sort of like know what you're doing, know what you're doing, wear a helmet, why not? If you're a novice, I don't know, a lot of people don't here, it can be really bad.
I'm
The accident.
surprised that so little people wear helmets. Like I
Yeah,
always wear a helmet, and I
yeah.
think people absolutely should. When I fell off my bike, which we'll talk about later, I was wearing a helmet, and it could have been very different if I was not. My
Yeah.
helmet actually ended up falling off of my head, even though it was strapped on. But we'll
Wow.
talk about that later.
And okay, so the next thing I wanted to talk about is the local driving culture, which Thailand actually has one of the highest rates of traffic-related death in the world. It's in the top five, and it's double the global average. So people here, without a bunch of foreigners who don't know how to drive motorbikes, showing up and renting motorbikes and driving them recklessly, people here are pretty reckless in general statistically, and that doesn't help. It's a wild
Yeah.
world out there in the Thai traffic world. You've got like like mobile street food stalls, stray dogs, children running into the street, old ladies randomly crossing the street, cars,
Families of
motorbikes.
4 or 5 on a single motorbike.
Yeah, all that stuff is happening all the time, and you really need to like process all of that. And Thai's I guess there is like a sort of like intoxicated driving problem here as well, that the law enforcement doesn't address as well as some countries would. It all just piles up. But so let's talk about yeah, as a segue to your story, the number one reason why foreigners in Koh Phangan fall off their motorbikes, or bicycles for that matter, sand on the road.
Oh, absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
often there's just like sand on the road. Like at the any like there can be the entire road is blocked with sand, and you just have to go over it. Now, a lot of people don't know, the locals seem to know what this is all about, and that you slow down, don't accelerate while you're on the sand in any sort of aggressive way, don't brake when you're on the sand, don't turn when you're on the sand, unless you're going incredibly slowly. So, like, what I like to say is, when you see sand, remove your hand. That's it. Like like just slow down, don't brake or accelerate, just coast over the sand and be ready to stick your feet out if it destabilizes. And before we get to your story, I saw a horrible accident this past week. Basically, I was driving down the road on my motorbike, and I saw that a crowd of people around, and I saw a bike that had been downed. As I drove coming up from behind, it was going the same direction as me before it fell. As I passed that bike in front of the bike, I saw a lady on the ground looking like she had been like, I don't know, like from a horror movie, with a gash in her head like this. It was
Oh
obvious that
man.
she was not wearing a helmet. And later, so I can remember this moment, I didn't stop then, because it was just that sight, because she was like, "Ah!" All these people around. I kept on driving, and basically, like a few minutes later, I saw that the emergency services were arriving on the scene. I don't know what happened afterwards, but I went back later that evening. It was around 5 p.m. before sunset that this happened. I went back later that evening and took a picture of this. So she would have been traveling this way, as was I, and gone onto the sand, and then something happened to destabilize the bike. And you can see the marks here. Can you see my mouse?
Yeah, I can, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So you can see the marks here where the bike hit the ground and started sort of like sliding on the ground, scraping on the ground. And you can see right here where her head hit and got cut open.
Yikes.
I took this so that I could remember like what happens in this sort of situation. And I can't unsee what I saw with her lying on the ground with the big gash on her head. Don't know what happened, don't know if she survived, don't know what it was, but it was a real sort of, I came home after that, and for the next hour after that, I was like just lying in bed and going,
And that was after your accident, right?
no, before.
No,
This was
before. Oh, okay,
about
before.
4 days before my accident. So yeah, you had an accident with sand as well. Tell me about yours.
Yeah. So, my accident, I had a friend on my bike. I was driving around. At this point, I already drove for 3 or 4 years in Thailand, in Koh Phangan as well. So I was very comfortable with driving. We were going near north of Hat Yao. So if you know the island, that part of the island is very hilly, so up and down and
Yes,
some turns.
yes.
There's also some scenic turns there as well. So a lot of foreigners kind of look out onto the sea from the top of the cliff instead of looking at the road in front of them. I wasn't, but pretty much I was going maybe a little bit too fast, to be honest. I think around 40 or 50 kilometers an hour, so not in, like super fast, but I didn't notice some wet sand on the road. And when sand is dry, it's very dangerous because you can easily slip off of your bike. Or when you're doing a turn, you don't have as good control. But when the sand is wet, especially after rain, it can be really bumpy. So the sand hardens, and then with all of the wheels, with all of the roads, it kind of creates this shape of bumpiness. So at some point, I'm going, a little bit too fast, let's say. I noticed that there are these bumps in front of me. So I try to slow down, but I slowed down a little bit too late. So my bike started jumping on the sand, and then I lost control of my bike and we fell over. Thankfully, it wasn't too bad because the only thing that was hurt was my elbow here and my knee,
Yeah.
both healed quite nicely. Both of us were wearing helmets, although my helmet actually fell off of my head, um, or my friend's. I don't remember which one because it was so chaotic at the time. But everything was fine after that. There was a lot of blood. I needed to get some stitches. I drove myself to the hospital after that. They took good care of me there. It wasn't too expensive either. But it was the spooky moment to fall off of your bike, to hit the ground. I also rolled, I believe. Like once again, in this moment of
Yeah.
like my heart beating really quickly, like it both feels slow motion, like super, super slow, everything that happened. But then thinking back, it was like a blur. Like 1 second I'm on my bike, and the next
Yeah.
second I'm on the ground with, blood all over myself.
Everything was
Um,
okay, and then it's not okay.
yeah, no, absolutely. And once again, I have a lot of experience driving over different sand. So this was quite unfortunate, but I think even experienced drivers could be victims of sand on the road. Um, and yeah, this is also a part of the road where I think people speed up because it's relatively flat, that like straight, I mean, this
Yeah.
this part of the road, in between some curves. So you slow down near the curve and then you speed up a bit. But yeah, I was very lucky because, I didn't get hit on my head. All of my wounds were relatively easy to treat. But for the next 2 weeks, walking hurt, just existing hurt. I had bandages over me, and so every now and then I'd go to 7-Eleven and see somebody else in a bandage, and we kind of look at each other and have like a giggle or something because, it's so common to have what they call a Koh Phangan tattoo or at least like bandages on
Yeah.
you. So yeah, that was my story. Fortunately, it's not too bad. It's not like this dramatic, crazy story, but it could be. And even this fall, if I would have somehow fell differently and hit my head, or that same fall could have been fatal, or it could have been a lot more, dangerous and hurtful than it actually has been. So I was lucky.
Yeah.
And there was no collision. It wasn't the fault of some tourist that didn't know how to drive my bike. It was just me, my bike, and an unfortunate placement of sand in a place where half of the road was covered by the sand. So if I were to avoid it, I would have to go on the other lane.
Yeah. So
So
that
that
was
was my story.
Had yeah.
Hadyao, yeah, just north of
and
there. I think closer to Had Salat, if anyone knows
you
Koh
had a
Phangan geography.
Yao, a big Yao.
I had a Yao, yeah.
Well, guess where my
Big
bicycle accident was this past.
Hadyao.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was Christmas Day. Merry Christmas. Ho ho ho. And yeah, I decided to spend the day riding my bicycle as much as possible. And or the weekend. So I did about 30 kilometers on Saturday, and it was on my 33rd kilometer on Sunday. I had earned a pizza. I went
Mm,
to Loco's Pizza Bar in Hadyao. I was on my way there. And it was that final hill. I could see the pizza place. And I think because of that, I started to relax. And, when you lean back on your bike, or at least this bike, the handlebars were a little bit too far away from me. So I think I was holding them with my fingertips. But again,
mm.
I don't know what happened. Everything was fine. I had just gone up a hill, down a hill, up a hill, down a hill 3 times. And then at the end, I was just like relaxing. Here I am. I'm here. Nope. In 1 second, I guess I lost grip of the handlebar. I guess there was some sort of like bump in the road, as there is like all over the place, bumpy,
Yeah.
cracked, disintegrating, collapsed roads on Koh Phangan. Watch out for it. It's everywhere. Not to mention sand, but there was nothing like sand on this. But I don't know. Everything was okay. I was looking forward to my pizza, and all of a sudden, I realized that I am off the bike and I'm landing on the ground. And I was like, oh, fuck. Okay, what's going to happen now? Was the thought when my sort of side of my body hit the ground. Then the momentum of going down that hill was so much that I guess, based on where the wounds are, so like here, the left side of my face landed on the pavement, straight on the pavement. I was wearing sunglasses, and yeah, next thing you know, I don't know, my face is busted up. Two of my teeth were like pushed in, like out of place, dislocated. And this was not a walk it off sort of situation, especially with the teeth.
Mm.
There was blood coming from my hands, from my mouth, from my eye here, everything. This was not a walk it off. And so luckily there was a restaurant across the street. They came over and they helped me, gave me some water to wash off the wounds, and said, do you want an ambulance to the hospital? Or do you want a taxi to the hospital? I was like, yes, because I knew this was not a walk it off. This was not,
Mhm.
I needed, like, especially for the teeth, I needed to go and let them do their thing as soon as possible. One of the teeth, so I got in the taxi within like 3 minutes, like 2, 3 minutes passed, and there I was bleeding in the back of the taxi. They're driving quickly to Koh Phangan Hospital, or I thought. No, actually, they had a sign I noticed for First Western Hospital in there,
Yeah.
which is the more private hospital. And yeah, along the way, um, one of the two teeth that was dislodged came out. And I was just like, okay, I'll just put it in my pocket as a souvenir, because I thought, like, once a tooth is out, it's out. That's it. You don't have that tooth anymore. You got to get some sort of
Yeah.
implant or something like that. And then within, I guess, 20 minutes of the accident, I was in the hospital. 2 minutes after that, I was on a stretcher and they were fixing me up. Um, they were looking at me and I still had all this adrenaline, like, oh my God, I could barely like lie down on the stretcher. I wanted to get up. I was like processing the shock and all this sort of stuff, feeling like crazy and stuff like that. And then they started putting these stitches in my eye. Then they started putting the stitches in my lip. Then they started putting the stitches in my chin. And within half an hour of it happening, which I guess will help in the healing long term, that, it wasn't an open wound. There were no open wounds like for too long. And then they called the emergency dentist. And then I went, after they finished the stitches, I went to the dentist. And they had asked when I was on the stretcher, do you have that tooth that fell out? And I'm like, yeah, it's in my pocket. And they took it. I'm like, what are they going to do with it? Then I get to the dentist. Or no, first I went to x-rays. And the x-rays got, best service possible because the taxi wanted to take me to First Western Hospital. I insisted they take me to Koh Phangan Government Hospital because it was
Mhm.
closer and I'd been there before and it seemed like a reasonably all right place. And I knew that it's cheaper, like and all that
That's where I
sort of
went
stuff.
as well.
Yeah. And so I went to the dentist and started talking with them. And then I just felt like, oh, the on the stretcher with the stitches and stuff like that, the best part was like hearing that my eye was okay because I was wearing sunglasses and the sunglasses like cracked and that's what gave me this laceration here.
Oh shit.
Yeah, but the glass didn't break and my eye was fine. I could see fine the whole time. That's really lucky,
Mhm.
right? As
Yeah,
you said, you're grateful. It could have been worse, and it wasn't worse. And yeah, then basically, like, I went to the dentist, and they said, okay, we're gonna reposition this tooth that's hanging there, and this other one that you brought to us, that you gave to us, we're gonna put that back in. And I was like, oh my God, this is
I didn't know you could
amazing.
do that.
I
Yeah.
know. Now we still don't know what's gonna happen because it's been 4 days now. It's wired into it's wired. Those teeth are wired to the other teeth that are stable, and apparently, what's gonna happen
Mhm.
is like, yeah, what's going to happen is it's going to hopefully bone will reattach to the tooth. Now, the tooth is probably dead, so I'll probably need to get root canal in that tooth, but I could keep the tooth. Actually, one of the teeth, the
Yeah,
two front teeth, I had a bicycle accident when I was like 8 years old, and that was also like root canal. So one of the teeth that was loose was also that, and she saw that on the x-ray. So hopefully I'll get to keep the original teeth. Otherwise, it's implants or whatever, but I'll have teeth. I've got my vision and I'm getting these stitches out tomorrow. So hopefully any scarring is not too bad. So yeah, that's it. And I've been going every day for the cleaning service. The initial visit, including the emergency stitches and the emergency dental was like about 200 US dollars, which is really reasonable for me. And that's like
absolutely.
under the deductible of most insurances, anyways, even. So yeah, really reasonable.
Speaking of insurance,
Yeah.
did you have insurance and how did
No,
that help with
I'm in between insurances right now. It was like one of those sorts of things that I was going to do it later to find an insurance for in Thailand because I had safety wing, but now that I'm living in Thailand, you can't use it for the place that you're living, right? So I
Mhm.
was in an unfortunate gap between insurance, but luckily I will get insurance after this. It was on my
Sure.
list of things to do, didn't get around to it. Really stupid. Get insurance, folks. When something like this happens, it will be the best decision you ever made, and you should just have it, think about it. I'm gonna get it as soon as possible. Yeah, and yeah, the daily cleaning. I go every day, and they open up the wound, and it hurts when they pull it off, and it hurts when they put the stuff on. But keeping it clean and making sure that the tropical climate doesn't get infected, which I hear happens a lot. So yeah, that's my story, and I'm still living through it. What are the takeaways here, folks? What do you think the takeaways are, Tal?
Wear a helmet, get insurance, and be very, very cautious. I think if you don't have experience driving, ultimately, I think it's okay if you decide to do the dangerous decision of getting a motorbike, as long as you're very careful, you take it slow, and you are aware that things might happen. And statistically, it is likely that you or somebody you know or somebody you see will be in an accident. Um, and
Yeah,
if you're in a place like Koh Phangan, to be honest, I think there's no alternative to not having a motorbike, because the transportation options are really not ideal.
yeah,
But take it slow. Don't drunk drive. Also, keep in mind, we didn't touch this. If you are driving in Koh Phangan after 10 p.m., 11 p.m., especially after midnight, most people that you see on the roads most likely have alcohol in their system because everybody goes to a party, they drink, maybe they do something else, and then they drive home. And that's another dangerous element to it. A lot of people are drinking with drugs in their system, with alcohol in their system,
yeah.
are driving, sorry, with alcohol in their system.
So super
So,
caution all the time. Be cautious, super cautious. That's the main thing. And what I like to think, rather than thinking of like super caution and stuff like that, I actually describe it as the fear of God. It's like the fear of God is when I'm on the motorbike, the fear of, but the bicycle. I let my guard down a bit more because, you know, it's a bicycle. I ride the bicycle all the time, everywhere, you know, like it's safe. What's going to happen if you fall off? Well, this can happen if you fall off going down a hill. Um, yeah. And yeah, you know, things seem really safe until they're not safe. So feel the fear of God, trust your intuition, trust your sense of when to slow down, and notice when you get in a state which is somehow agitated or something while you're driving, because those are the moments when you could do something risky or not notice something that's happening, or just sort of be absent-minded. Notice when you're in that state and just take a deep breath and recenter yourself on the task of
Yeah.
riding and staying safe. Thanks a
So
lot,
if you
folks.
see pizza folks, don't
Yeah,
let your guard down.
yeah.
Did you end up having a pizza since then?
No.
You
With the
should.
tooth
You now
situation.
you
No, 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 no.
super.
I need to. I'm eating stews and like smoothies and stuff like that don't require much chewing because my front teeth are like very sensitive still.
Guess the
So,
pizza's pending.
and I got to go back in about a week and a half and get the splint off my teeth and see if the teeth are gonna stick around. Ah, yeah. Don't end
So
up like
fruit
me,
smoothies.
Sonny. Yeah, this is a don't end up like me, Sonny sort of story. Hey,
Oh yeah.
kids, don't try this at home. Hey, kids, I'm the example of what you should not be today. So, keep that in mind, and we'll see you in the next video, which, yeah, hopefully my face will be less like this and more normal. All right. Thanks a lot, folks. Thanks, Tal.
Thank you.
Yeah.
No problem. Stay safe, folks.